You feel it, don't you? That constant, low-grade hum of anxiety, the pressure to be understood, the desperate need to be seen as good, as reasonable, as one of the team. So you talk, you explain, you justify. You lay out your logic, your motivations, your entire inner world on the table for inspection, hoping that if they just see your blueprints, they will approve of the building. You've been taught this is a virtue. You learned that communication is key, that transparency builds trust, that honesty is the best policy. That's a lie. It is the most profound and devastating lie you have ever been told. It is the master key to the cage you call your life. Every time you explain yourself, you bleed power. Every time you justify your actions, you hand the gavel to your accuser and willingly place your own neck on the chopping block. You think you are building bridges. In reality, you are begging for mercy from a judge who has already passed sentence. The world is not a courtroom where truth wins. The world is a battlefield of wills, and your need to explain is a fatal vulnerability. It is a signal to every predator in a 1,000-mile radius that you are prey. It tells them you do not trust your own judgment. It tells them your reality is negotiable. It screams to the world, "I do not believe I have the right to exist without your approval." Stop. Just for a moment, stop talking. What I am about to tell you is dangerous. It is the secret fire that separates the masters of this world from the servants. It is the unspoken rule that governs all dynamics of power, from the boardroom to the bedroom. Ignoring this will not just cost you a promotion. It won't just cost you respect. It is costing you your soul. It is costing you the one and only life you will ever have. You feel like you're running in place. You work hard. You try to be a good person. You follow the rules. Yet others glide past you. People with half your integrity, a fraction of your talent. They seem to operate under a different set of physical laws. They speak, and the world rearranges itself to accommodate their words. You speak, and you are met with demands for clarification, for justification, for more proof. You see them, the unapologetic ones. The ones who move with a certainty that feels like an affront to your careful, considerate existence. And you resent them. You call them arrogant. You call them selfish. You call them narcissistic. And in doing so, you miss the entire point. You are using the language of the herd to describe the lion. You are judging the eagle by the standards of the chicken. While you are busy crafting the perfect, reasonable explanation for why you deserve a seat at the table, they are simply taking the chair. While you are agonizing over how to phrase an email to not offend anyone, they are making the decision you are still trying to get permission to consider. Empires of influence and power are built on the land you willingly surrender every single day. They are fertilized by your explanations. They are irrigated by your need for approval. Inside you, a war rages. There is the voice of the true self, the sovereign, the king. This is the part of you that knows what it wants. It is decisive, intuitive, and deeply aligned with your own preservation and expansion. It does not feel the need to ask for permission to breathe. And then there is the other voice, the installed voice, the voice of the servant. This voice is not yours. It was programmed into you from birth. It is the voice of your parents telling you to be nice. It is the voice of your teachers telling you to share. It is the voice of society telling you that your own ambition is a form of greed, that your own certainty is a form of arrogance. The servant's only goal is to keep you safe within the herd. Its primary tool is shame. Its primary tactic is to force you to explain yourself, because in the act of explanation, the sovereign is silenced, and the servant takes control. The servant believes that if it can just make a good enough case, the herd will grant it safety and validation. The king knows that validation granted by others can be taken away by others. It is worthless. The king knows that true safety doesn't come from being liked by the sheep. It comes from being respected, or even feared, by the wolves. Every time you are challenged and you feel that frantic urge to defend yourself, that is the servant screaming in terror. It is terrified of being cast out. It is terrified of judgment. And every time you give in to that urge, you feed the servant and you starve the king. To understand the depth of this trap, you must look to the man who diagnosed the sickness of modern man over a century ago, Friedrich Nietzsche. He was not a philosopher for academics in ivory towers. He was a physician of the soul. He performed an autopsy on society and found the disease. He called it slave morality. Imagine a world with two kinds of people, the masters and the slaves. The masters are strong, noble, and vital. They look at the world and see a canvas for their will. They create their own values. For them, good is that which is noble, strong, and life-affirming. Bad is that which is weak, cowardly, and pathetic. Their morality flows downward from their own strength. The slaves are the opposite. They are weak, oppressed, and resentful. They cannot compete with the masters on the battlefield of life. So they compete on a different battlefield, the mind. They cannot win through strength, so they must win through cunning. They perform what Nietzsche called a transvaluation of values, a psychological coup. They take everything the master values, pride, power, ambition, wealth, unapologetic selfhood, and they label it evil. They take everything that characterizes their own weakness, humility, pity, obedience, meekness, and they label it good. Kindness is no longer a choice a strong person makes. It is a mandatory virtue for all. Humility is no longer a strategic posture. It is a moral requirement. Turning the other cheek is no longer a tactic. It is the highest form of spiritual achievement. This, Nietzsche saw, was the great deception. Slave morality is a psychological weapon created by the weak to control and neuter the strong. And its primary enforcement mechanism? The demand for an explanation. The strong man, the master, acts from his own will. He needs no other reason. The slave morality, the herd, cannot allow this. It is a threat to their entire system. So they surround him and they ask, "Why did you do that? Justify yourself. Explain your ambition. Apologize for your strength." The moment the master engages, the moment he tries to explain his strength in the language of the weak, he has already lost. He has accepted their frame. He has acknowledged their court as legitimate. He has knelt. You have been living your entire life inside this psychological prison. You have been taught to worship the values of the slave, to see your own inner master, your own strength and ambition, as something sinful that must be justified. It is time to break the chains. It is time to unlearn the poison. We will do this by engraving 4 mandates onto your soul. These are not suggestions. They are the laws of power. Mandate 1. Explanation is submission. Burn this into your mind. The act of explaining is a social posture. It is inherently subordinate. When someone questions your decision, your art, your life, and you begin to explain, you are non-verbally communicating several things. First, you communicate that their opinion has the power to validate or invalidate your own. You are placing them in the position of judge. Second, you communicate that you believe your actions are not self-evidently valid. You are admitting that your reality requires external ratification. Third, and most fatally, you are entering their frame. He who sets the frame of an interaction controls the interaction. The person asking why is setting a frame in which you are the defendant and they are the prosecutor. By answering, you agree to play your assigned role. Think of it. Attacker. Why did you choose that aggressive strategy for the project? Defensive. You. Well, you see, the data from Q3 suggested that our competitor was gaining market share, so I felt that a more proactive approach was necessary to mitigate risk, and I ran the numbers and… You have already lost. You sound weak. You sound like you're pleading. You have accepted the premise that your strategy was aggressive and are now scrambling to justify it. Now, the Machiavellian response. Attacker. Why did you choose that aggressive strategy for the project? Powerful you. A brief pause, direct eye contact, a slight, knowing smile. Because I intend to win. Or even more powerfully, what is it about winning that makes you uncomfortable? See the difference? The first response accepts the subordinate role. The second response holds the frame of power and certainty. It does not explain. It declares. The third response turns the frame back on the questioner, forcing them to examine their own motives for asking. You stop playing defense. You are the game. You must become allergic to the impulse to justify. When you feel that frantic energy rise in your chest, the desperate need to make them understand your good intentions, you must recognize it for what it is. The servant's panic. Let it pass. Breathe. And offer them nothing. Let them sit in the awkward silence. Let them squirm in the space created by your refusal to kneel. They are expecting a plea. Give them a presence. The world will not know what to do with you, and in their confusion, your power will grow. Mandate 2. Weaponize their judgment. The herd's primary weapon is judgment. They will label you to control you. Arrogant, selfish, cold, difficult, intense, ruthless. You've spent your life running from these labels. You've contorted yourself into knots trying to prove you are not these things. Oh no, I'm not selfish. I'm just trying to look after my own needs for once. I'm not arrogant. I'm just confident in my abilities. This is still explaining. It is still submission. The master doesn't run from their judgment. He seizes it. He understands that their accusations are not a reflection of him. They are a confession of their own limitations. When they call you arrogant, it is because your self-assurance is a blinding light that exposes their own insecurity. When they call you selfish, it is because your self-respect is a boundary they cannot cross to exploit you. When they call you cold, it is because your emotional discipline is a fortress they cannot penetrate with their manufactured dramas. Their labels are a gift. They are a roadmap to their fears. So you will no longer deny their accusations. You will agree and amplify. This is a technique of immense power. It takes the weapon from their hand, shows them it does not harm you, and then uses it to shatter their frame. Accuser, you're so arrogant. You think you're better than everyone. Defensive. You. No, that's not true. I value everyone's input. Weak. Pathetic. Machiavellian. You. Lean in slightly. Lower your voice. Thank you for noticing. It's a tremendous burden, but someone has to set the standard. Do you feel the tectonic shift in that exchange? The accuser expects denial. They are prepared for a fight on their terms. By agreeing and amplifying with a touch of sarcasm, you refuse to enter their reality. You create a new one where their insult is a compliment. You have become untouchable. They have no move left. Accuser. That was a pretty ruthless move, cutting him from the team. Defensive. You. It was a hard decision. but his performance was lagging, and for the good of the company, you're justifying. You're weak. Machiavellian. You. Ruthless? I thought it was rather merciful. A clean cut is better than a slow bleed. We're here to build an empire, not a hospice. This response does not apologize for strength. It reframes it as a higher form of compassion and necessity. It demonstrates that you operate on a plane of existence where their small, moralistic labels do not apply. Practice this. Take the words they use to cage you and turn them into the pillars of your throne. Let their judgment become the fuel for your amusement. You will find that their power over you was always an illusion, one that required your consent to exist. Mandate 3. Starve the vultures. The world is filled with emotional vampires, manipulators, narcissists, drama addicts, and the chronically insecure. These people do not feed on your blood. They feed on your reactions. Your anger is a feast. Your frustration is a delicacy. Your long, pleading explanations are a multi-course banquet. When you react, you give them your energy. You confirm that they have power over your emotional state. You are a puppet, and they are pulling the strings. The need to explain is the most potent form of reaction. It shows them exactly where the hook is set. It tells them what you value, what you fear, and how to hurt you. You must go on an emotional diet. You must starve the vultures. When someone baits you with an accusation, a passive-aggressive comment, or a demand for justification, you will give them nothing. Not anger, not defensiveness, not a cold shoulder, nothing. You will offer them a calm, detached, almost clinical observation. A state of mind the Stoics called apatheia. It is not apathy. It is a state of being unperturbed. Your inner peace is non-negotiable. Manipulator. I can't believe you didn't consult me before making that decision. Some of us feel really left out. Reactive. You. I'm so sorry. I was just moving so fast and I thought you were busy. I didn't mean to exclude you. You are now in their control. You will spend the rest of the day trying to manage their feelings. Sovereign. You. Calmly making eye contact. The decision has been made. That's it. No apology, no explanation. It is a simple statement of fact. You are a mountain. Their emotional storm can rage, but it cannot move you. What happens when you do this? First, the manipulator will escalate. They are not getting their fix. They will push harder, become more dramatic, more accusatory. They are testing you, trying to find the crack in your armor. You must hold the line. Continue to give them nothing. Respond with simple, factual, non-emotional statements. I understand you feel that way. I've heard your position. The matter is concluded. These are not fighting words, they are walls. Eventually, deprived of the emotional reaction they crave, the vulture will starve. They will become bored, and they will fly away to find easier prey, someone who will explain, who will justify, who will get angry. Someone like the old you. Your emotional unreachability is your fortress. Do not lower the drawbridge for anyone who demands you justify your right to rule it. Mandate 4. Become the source of your own law. This is the final and most profound transformation. All other mandates are tactics. This is a state of being. The slave lives in a world of external authority. His morality, his sense of self-worth, his permission to act. It all comes from outside. From the herd, from God, from tradition, from his boss. He is perpetually looking over his shoulder, seeking a verdict. The master becomes the source of his own authority. He is his own lawgiver. This does not mean you become a criminal or a monster. That is the slave's caricature of the master. It is a scare tactic to keep you in the pen. It means you transcend the simplistic, herd-defined binary of good and bad. You begin to operate on the axis of strong versus weak, life-affirming versus life-denying, effective versus ineffective. You must stop asking, "Is this the right thing to do?" and start asking, "Does this action serve my ultimate purpose?" You must stop asking, "What will they think of me?" and start asking, "Is this in alignment with the man I have chosen to become?" This requires you to know, with chilling clarity, what you want. Not what you're supposed to want. What you, in the deepest core of your being, truly desire for your life. Once you know your destination, you no longer need to explain your path to people who are walking in the opposite direction. Their opinion is irrelevant. This gives rise to a new kind of morality. Not compulsive morality, but strategic morality. The slave is compulsively good. He is nice because he is afraid of the consequences of not being nice. His goodness is a form of cowardice. He does not choose it. It is a reaction to fear. The master practices strategic goodness. He might be kind, generous, and loyal. But these are choices made from a position of absolute strength. He is kind because it serves his purpose, perhaps to build a powerful alliance, or to create a world he wishes to live in. He is loyal to those who have earned it. His virtues are weapons in his arsenal, not chains on his limbs. He can choose to be ruthless when necessary, and he will not feel the need to apologize for it. He does not explain his kindness, and he certainly does not explain his cruelty. Both flow from the same source, his sovereign will. When you become your own law, the need to explain yourself to others becomes absurd. It would be like the sun explaining to a candle why it shines. The transformation is complete. You no longer seek a verdict from the world. You are the verdict. This is not an intellectual exercise. It is a practice. So for the next 7 days, you will undertake a trial, a test of your will. I challenge you to a fast from explaining. For the next 7 days, you will not justify, defend, or explain your decisions, big or small, unless it serves a clear, strategic purpose that you have defined beforehand. When your partner asks why you're suddenly quiet and reflective, you will not say, "I'm just stressed from work and I've been thinking about this new project." You will say, "I'm enjoying the silence." And you will smile. When your boss questions your unconventional approach to a problem, you will not launch into a defensive monologue about your methodology. You will say, "I am confident in this direction." And you will hold his gaze. When your friend gives you a backhanded compliment or a passive-aggressive jab, you will not try to clarify their misconception or defend your honor. You will give them a slow nod, as if to say, "I see you." And you will change the subject, or you will simply walk away. During this week, you must become an observer, a scientist of power dynamics. Watch what happens. Notice who objects. Notice who becomes agitated, confused, or angry at your newfound economy of speech. These are the vultures. These are the manipulators. These are the people who have been, consciously or unconsciously, feeding on your weakness. Their reaction is a gift. It is a map of the prison bars you never knew were there. Feel the shift inside you. Feel the terror of the inner servant as it is starved of its approval-seeking behavior. Feel it scream. And feel the deep, quiet, unshakable power of the inner king as it awakens from its long slumber. Feel the space that opens up in your own mind when it is no longer consumed with crafting explanations and managing the perceptions of others. This will be one of the hardest things you have ever done. Your programming will fight you every step of the way. But if you succeed, even for a single day, You will taste a freedom so profound it will ruin you for your old life forever. You will have reclaimed the most fundamental right of a sovereign being, the right to an unexplained existence. The final truth is this: you were born a king. Society, with its slave morality, told you that your throne was a sign of arrogance and demanded you trade it for a comfortable place by the fire with the rest of the herd. In your innocence, you believed them. You dismantled your own throne, piece by piece, and used the wood to warm those who told you to be humble. You were a story, and you allowed anyone with a pen to write your chapters. You were a fortress, and you gave the keys to anyone who asked nicely. You were a fire, and you allowed your flame to be used to light the cheap cigars of mediocre men. No more. The man who explains is a man who is asking for permission to be himself. He is a piece on the board, waiting to be moved by another's hand. The man who is silent, the man whose actions are his only explanation, is the hand that moves the pieces. He is a player. You are no longer the man who reacts. You are the force that is reacted to. You are no longer the man who answers the questions. You are the man who is the question. The world will look at you and wonder, who is he? What will he do next? Your ambiguity is your power. Your mystery is your shield. Nietzsche described 3 transformations of the spirit. The camel, who bears the burdens of others and says, "Thou shalt." The lion, who destroys the old values and says, "I will." And the child, who is a new beginning, a creator of new values, a sacred yes. You have lived your life as the camel, burdened by the weight of everyone else's expectations. By refusing to explain, you become the lion. You destroy the dragon of "thou shalt." You clear the desert for your own creation. You have become unreachable, not physically, but psychically. Their judgments, their praise, their anger, their love, it all washes against the shores of your being, but it cannot touch the citadel within. You are the source. You are the law. You are the king. And from this place of unshakable sovereignty, you are finally free to build, to create, to conquer, and to live a life so bold and authentic that it will become a legend. A life that requires no explanation,